But I came to visit with Gomer, Amby protested. Well, I am sorry about that, but regulations are regulations, Carter said firmly, pointing toward the door. You can wait for him in the recreation room if you like, although it might be kind of a long wait. But there is so much left to do, she gestured to the floor. I have barely started on the floor. Well, there is nothing we can do about that, Carter said, his patience completely exhausted. The recreation room is down at the end of the street, and turn left. Ampy sighed softly, realizing she had lost this battle. Oh, and one more thing, madam, Carter added, pointing to her attire. You will have to leave the jacket and cap here. Oh, yes, she blushed, hastily removing the oversized garments. I will help you, Aunt B, Gomer said miserably, taking the jacket. Well, Gomer, she said, patting his arm. Thank you. I will be waiting for you. I hope it will not be too long. I will do my very best, Aunt B, Gomer promised. As she walked toward the door, she paused and looked back at Carter. Oh, dear, look what you are doing to the floor. Look, there's the clean part. Carter gritted his teeth. Goodbye, Miss Taylor. The moment the door clicked shut behind her, the fragile dam holding back Sergeant Carter's temper completely shattered. He rounded on Gomer, his face turning a dangerous shade of crimson. Pyle, you lame brain, you knucklehead! Carter bellowed, the volume shaking the windows. Do you realize how many regulations you have broken here? Well, let me count them off to you. He held up his fingers, advancing on Gomer until they were nose to nose. 1. Having a civilian in the barracks. 2. Having a civilian woman in the barracks. 3. Letting a civilian wear a Marine uniform. Gomer stood at attention, his face a picture of pure, innocent misery. You have been in the Marines for 3 years, Pyle. Carter roared. When are you going to learn? When are you going to learn? What does it take to get through that? Thick skull of yours? What? Unbeknownst to Carter, the barracks door had quietly pushed open. Ampy stood in the doorway, staring in absolute shock at the screaming man. Oh, Miss Taylor, Carter stammered, suddenly catching sight of her and dropping his voice by several decibels. Did you forget something? Ampy clutched her purse tightly to her chest. No, but, is there any trouble? I heard your voice and it sounded, well, rather angry. Carter pasted on a painfully fake, overly wide smile. Oh, did it? Yes, Ampy said, her eyes darting between the angry sergeant and the crestfallen private. There's not anything wrong, is there? Gomer forced a bright smile, trying to diffuse the tension. Really, it is nothing you need worry about, madam. Sergeant Carter talks to me a lot like this. Aunt B, there is no need for you to worry. Aunt B did not look convinced. Oh, I see. Well, I will be waiting for you, Gomer. All right, Gomer squeaked. She turned and left once more. Carter waited 3 long seconds before dropping the fake smile. He turned back to Gomer, his voice low and vibrating with contained fury. Oh, what an awful mess. You've been in the Marines all this time, and you pull this kind of boneheaded stunt, having a civilian in the barracks? A civilian and a woman civilian? Pyle, I am going to make sure you do not forget this. You are going to remember this for a long time when I get to. What? Aunt B.A.'s voice floated through the slightly open door. Excuse me. Carter spun around, a look of wild desperation in his eyes. Oh, Miss Taylor, are you sure everything is all right, that Gomer is not in some kind of trouble? Carter fought to keep his voice steady. Really, it is nothing, madam. You see, Private Pyle forgot a few of his duties, and I was just reminding him. Aunt B drew herself up to her full height, radiating disapproval. My goodness, do you remind people in that tone of voice? It sounded so rough. Really, Miss Taylor. Carter pleaded through gritted teeth. Why do you not just wait for this knucklehead? I mean, Private Pyle in the recreation room? Well, really, Ampy, it is okay. Really it is, Gomer chimed in. Ampy gave Carter one last, withering look. All right, Gomer, if you say so. She marched away, Carter leaned heavily against the bunk, exhaling a long, exhausted breath. That should be such a mess. Now, Pyle, let me tell you what I got planned for you. The California sun had begun its slow descent, casting long, golden shadows across the parade deck. The heat was still oppressive, pressing down on the base in heavy waves. Outside one of the storage facilities, Gomer-Pyle stood in the blazing sun, a large shovel in his hands, staring at a massive mound of dry sand. With a deep sigh, he plunged the shovel into the pile, lifted a heavy scoop of sand, and walked 10 paces to his left. He dumped it onto the concrete. Then he walked back to the original pile, scooped up another load, and repeated the process. It was mindless, grueling, and utterly pointless labor. Exactly the kind of punishment Sergeant Carter specialized in. He had been at it for nearly an hour when a familiar, gentle voice broke through the silence. "Aunt B, what are you doing here?" Gomer asked, dropping his shovel in surprise. Aunt B walked toward him, a small parasol held over her head to block the sun. Her face was etched with deep concern. "Well, I got so worried you did not turn up in the recreation room, and I thought I would come back and see if everything is all right. That Sergeant Carter seemed so annoyed with you." Gomer wiped a bead of sweat from his forehead. "Oh, it really was not much. He just gave me some extra details to do, and just as soon as I get finished, then we can visit." Ampy looked around the empty expanse of concrete. "Oh, good. Well, what do you have to do?" Gomer gestured to the 2 piles of sand. "Well, for one thing, I got to move this sand pile here over there." "Oh, then what?" "Well, then I've got to move the sand pile there back over here." Ampy stared at him, her mind unable to process the absolute lack of logic. "You mean move it back where it came from?" "Yes, ma'am." Gomer nodded honestly. "Oh, goodness. Well, why do you have to do that?" "Because Sergeant Carter said so." Tears welled up in Aunt B.A.'s eyes as the reality of the situation dawned on her. This sweet, innocent boy was being tortured for absolutely no reason. "Oh, Gomer, you are being punished." "Oh, it was because of me, was it not?" Gomer rushed forward, his heart breaking to see her upset. "Oh, no. Aunt B, it was not your fault." "Gomer, why?" "Oh, Gomer, I am so sorry." Suddenly, Sergeant Carter materialized from around the corner of the building, his face a mask of stern military authority. "Miss Taylor, you are not supposed to talk to men when they are on a detail." Ampy turned on him, her sadness transforming instantly into righteous indignation. "I came back to... You see, the men would never get their work finished if they have civilians talking to them." Carter interrupted smoothly, stepping between her and Gomer. "I know, but... Look, why do you not let me show you a shortcut to the gate?" Carter said, his voice dripping with false courtesy as he placed a firm hand on her shoulder, physically guiding her away from Gomer. "Now, you just go right down this road right here, and it will run right out to the main street, where you can get yourself a bus. I am sure you do want to take a bus. Do you not?" Aunt B was flustered, practically being marched off the base against her will. "Thank you very much," she managed to say indignantly as Carter propelled her down the road. A few hours later, the afternoon air had cooled, but the atmosphere inside Sergeant Carter's office was about to reach a boiling point. Carter was sitting at his desk, filing out endless requisition forms, while Corporal Boyle lounged nearby, listening to a small, battery-operated radio. The smooth, professional voice of a broadcaster filled the room. "I am sure our listeners were fascinated by your stories of your son. Mickey, this is the Johnny Clark at Large Show, talking to you from outside of the gate of Camp Henderson, where we have been interviewing friends and relatives of..." The host paused. "Excuse me, madam. Excuse me. Would you mind talking to us for a moment?" "What?" came a highly recognizable, flustered voice. Carter froze, his pen hovering above the paper. He recognized that voice. "Tell me," Johnny Clark asked smoothly, "how did you enjoy your visit to Camp Henderson today?" "Well, not very much. I can tell you that." Aunt B.A.'s voice crackled over the radio waves, ringing with absolute outrage. I have never been so shocked and surprised in all my life. I just came here to visit my son.